Adam and Evil. Copyright 2007 by Jack C. Trick, LLC, printed in USA. The roots of prohibition run deep. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And once their eyes were opened, they discovered something even more interesting. Fast forward to Christmas Eve of 1912, when a new savior is born. The German pharmaceutical company Merck files a procedure patent that mentions 3,4-methylene dioxy methamphetamine MDMA and 3,4-methylene dioxy amphetamine MDA as intermediate chemicals used in a novel synthesis of clotting agents. While investigating drugs for use in chemical warfare in 1953, the United States Army studies MDMA, MDA, and other psychedelics in animals. That same year, an Army-contracted physician experimentally injects a psych patient with a fatal overdose of 500 milligrams of MDA. In 1959, UCLA psychopharmacologist Gordon Alice reports on the effects of orally consumed MDA. After taking a total of 126 milligrams, he describes hallucinating diaphanous smoke rings in the air. While working for Dow Chemical, Alexander Sasha Shulgin investigates psychedelics. He first synthesizes MDMA in 1965, but he doesn't try it himself until some years later. He finds it offers him an undistorted window into his inner and outer realms. His friends try it and have similarly positive results. One such friend, the elderly psychologist Leo Zeff, tries some of Shulgin's MDMA in 1977. He immediately dismisses his plans for a quiet retirement and spends the next decade turning on hundreds of other therapists. Zeff calls the drug Adam, as he feels that it strips away ego defense mechanisms, returning the user to a primordial state of innocence. Also, in 1977, Shulgin tries a psychoactive dose of his own chemical spin-off of MDMA, 3,4-methylene deoxyethyl amphetamine, MDE, which later becomes known as Eve in the underground. In 1981, researchers Myron and Gene Stolaroff interview Zeff, recording his techniques. A single MDMA-assisted therapy session could accomplish as much as 6 or more months of traditional therapy. Therapists find MDMA to be of immeasurable value for trauma and grief counseling, for improving relationships, and for those facing terminal illness. Some experts feel that the term psychedelic doesn't accurately describe MDMA's effects. You feel empathy for others, argued Ralph Metzner, who proposed empathogen in 1983. No, you feel in touch with yourself, insisted David Nichols. Dave prefers his own new term, entactogen, which he proposed in 1986. Jonathan Ott had been promoting his neologism for traditional psychoptic sacraments since 1979. What about entheogen? Guys? John asks. And indeed, MDMA's effects can be profoundly spiritual. A Benedictine monk describes MDMA as opening a direct link with God. A rabbi recalls his great delight of loving the universe and feeling loved by the universe. A Buddhist monk expresses that MDMA helped him to become enlightened, and the Indian guru Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh's followers start to distribute the drug internationally. Catholic priest Michael Clegg had spent his whole life wanting to know the thoughts of God, and MDMA completely fulfills this desire for him. It's like Moses on the mountain with the revelation. Clegg christens MDMA with the name ecstasy and begins his mission to get it to the whole world. MDMA's popularity increased. While 10,000 doses are estimated to have been consumed across America in 1976, by the mid-1980s, Clegg is flooding the city of Dallas with nearly 500,000 doses per month, according to ABC News, although other sources have estimated 30,000 doses per month. Pills can be purchased at nightclubs using a credit card, making Clegg a millionaire. The San Francisco Chronicle reports on the yuppie psychedelic in June of 1984. On July 27th of that same year, the DEA announces its intention to make MDMA illegal. By August, the DEA has received letters from Professor Thomas Roberts, chemist Dave Nichols, psychiatrist George Greer, and many others requesting a hearing. On April 25, 1985, The Donahue Show points out the benefits of MDMA therapy while acknowledging the increase in recreational use. Phil tempts his audience. It makes you love everybody. Now who doesn't want to take ecstasy? The DEA quickly institutes an emergency one-year ban on MDMA. MDMA's legal status ping-pongs over the next few years. The DEA ignores their Judge Francis Young's hearing recommendation, and MDMA is ultimately placed into Schedule 1. It should be in Schedule 3, was what Judge Young decided. In 1986, Rick Doblin founds the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, to fund MDMA research. An unrelated Swiss psychotherapy study occurred between 1988 and 1993, but getting U.S. research approved is difficult. Illicit recreational use, on the other hand, explodes in the late 1980s and early 1990s due to a cultural phenomenon called raving. Drug-inspired trance dancing becomes the spiritual practice of youth worldwide. New books about psychedelics, including several monographs on MDMA, target a growing interest. One bright research note is the 1992 FDA approval of Dr. Charles S. Grobe's investigation into human psychobiologic effects of MDMA. But anti-drug propaganda still rules the roost, promoting unreasonable fears of neurotoxicity. Even Oprah Winfrey acts as a government shill. Ecstasy burns holes into your brain, she absurdly claimed. Making MDMA illegal results in an underground market flooded with adulterated or misrepresented drugs, some of which actually are dangerous. Acting with real concern for the public's health, the harm reduction group Dance Safe begins selling pill testing kits. Operated by Arrowwood, ecstasydata.org starts to chemically analyze pills and post the results online. You won't get any dancing here. It's illegal. Shades of Footloose, I'm told. I didn't see the movie myself. New anti-rave laws increase criminal penalties, sending more people to the slammer. Oh, and by the way, that image was adapted from a compilation of different black market pills called 99 Ecstasy MDMA tablets. It was created by my friends at the excellent educational website arrowwood.org, and they own the copyright. They're doing extremely important, valuable, high-quality work over there, Earth and Fire. I encourage you to become a member of their non-profit organization, or at least make a donation toward their efforts. But I digress. Since 1989, the National Institute on Drug Abuse has been funding George Ricarte's research team to the tune of over $15 million, gunning for him to show negative effects from MDMA. Appreciating where his grant money was coming from, Ricarte's 2002 paper in Science stated that MDMA causes severe dopamine neurotoxicity and death in primates following the administration of a single recreational dose. However, Ricarte submitted a full retraction a year later when it was discovered that methamphetamine had been accidentally administered to research animals instead of MDMA. Oops! I mean, seriously, how does something like that just happen by accident? It's entirely possible that some of those poor monkeys have now joined MMA, Meth Monkeys Anonymous. I mean, how would we know for sure, since it's anonymous? Ask one of the monkeys if he or she is a friend of Walter, I suppose. How will they let you know? Monkeys can't talk. Mainstream news media has a field day. Dozens of articles point out Ricarte's mistake. Ecstasy Rising, an even-handed TV show hosted by ABC's Peter Jennings on April 1, 2004, describes several U.S. government lies and the problems inherent in crying wolf. Jennings states that The government's dramatic claims about brain damage are exaggerated and unconvincing. In the last few years, MAP's research into treating post-traumatic stress disorder with MDMA has shown a great deal of promise. Excepting for the notable shameful stain on this work from that one unethical MAPS researcher, misusing his position to sexually abuse and take advantage of a patient who was being treated for PTSD related to her prior sexual abuses, and MAPS's failure to actively review videotape of the sessions in any sort of timely and potentially protective manner, and unfortunately a handful of other questionable approaches and study design issues. Despite these serious and not entirely rectified issues, it is nevertheless possible that MDMA may also be effective in treating symptoms of Parkinson's disease, the pain and anxiety resulting from end-stage cancer, or the social anxiety caused by Asperger's syndrome. And so we end on a somewhat hopeful note. Our Godfather who synthesized heaven, Sasha be thy name. In June of 2007, we celebrate the 82nd birthday of MDMA's godfather, Dr. Alexander Shulgin, and raise a glass to toast his low-calorie martini. Ah, yes, a special birthday. Two dear friends also celebrated their birthdays, my lovely assistant Tanya Manning and the author Eric Davis. An intimate group at a gorgeous Costa Rican eco-retreat, perfect in all ways but one, no chocolate cake. Also, Jonathan Ott tried to pet an otter, and it bit him. I did try to warn him that he oughter not engage it. Could there be many chemical paths to heaven? Numerous psychoactive plants and chemicals can provide valuable insights into a deeper, all-encompassing spiritual reality. As Dr. Albert Hofmann himself has said,
"This is the reality which all of the great mystics and founders of religion describe. It is, in truth, the kingdom of heaven destined for humankind. There is, however, a fundamental distinction, whether one knows of this reality only from the reports of others, or whether one has experienced it personally in beatific moments. Spontaneously. Or with the aid of entheogenic drugs."
Ott 1993, page 12. Nothing else can save you. Trust entheogens today. Were entheogenic drugs the origin of all religions? In the words of R. Gordon Wasson, at that point religion was born, religion pure and simple, free of theology, free of dogmatics, expressing itself in awe and reverence and in lowered voices, mostly at night, when people would gather together to consume the sacred element. The first entheogenic experience could have been the first and an authentic, perhaps the only authentic miracle. This was the beginning of the age of the entheogens, long, long ago. Wasson, 1986, page 78. To help your growth in spiritual awareness, take the next step. Try an entheogen. Trick Publications. Compliments of, well, I suppose that would be compliments of me. I hope you have enjoyed this brief overview. For more information about how psychoactive drugs are responsible for the origins of all religion, use an internet search engine and type in entheogen. Looking for MDMA? Contact a dealer in your area. Caution. Following the true religion may result in persecution and/or criminal penalties. And, just for the record, since I believe it is clear that I am both reading a script and that I have occasionally gone off script, I wanted to make sure to note that my personal preference is for the word psychedelic over Ott and Company's newer term entheogen. While it is true that from an ethnographic perspective the visionary plants have historically been used within spiritual, magical, religious contexts, it is also true that many more people are familiar with the word psychedelic than the word entheogen. And I prefer to defer to those words that are widely understood to enhance comprehension within communications. Additionally, despite Anne's insistence that I publicly characterize my lack of belief in God with the word agnostic, the truth of the matter is that I feel quite a bit more in alignment with the atheists.